Hey, my name is Jillian Barbie, and this is another vlog post for my Digital Media 2 class. This week we had to read 2 different documents about the people behind the games, the game developers, the game designers, and it was just a bunch of information about them, and so there were a couple questions that we had to answer. So, for the first question, it says, what information confirmed what you already thought about the game industry? Describe this and your thoughts. So for me, a lot of it confirmed what I actually thought. Again, I don't know a lot about the game industry other than what I'm learning through this class. I don't have a lot of gaming experience or anything like that. But just from the outside looking in, it did confirm a lot of things for me. It did say that 40% of game developers are American, which seems pretty reasonable to me. Most of them are male, which also seems, very plausible in my opinion, from what I can gather anyway. It said, and I knew that this was going to be the case. It might be a little higher than I thought, but the ratio from women to men is about 80% to 20%. 80 being the men, obviously. And while that was totally expected, like I knew men would be more than women, I really didn't know that it would be quite that drastic of a split. Again, I don't know much about the gaming industry, but still that was kind of like expected, but kind of still surprised. I also wasn't surprised to learn or to read that most game developers and game makers have only been in the field for less than 10 years, which makes a lot of sense given my knowledge about games. Like Pac-Man was one that I reviewed, and it was like a huge deal in the 80s. And so games really have come a very long way in a very short amount of time. And so it makes sense that the majority of the people working in there haven't been there long, because this is such a big, upcoming, newer field to get a real job in. The last big thing that I really wasn't surprised with at all is that the number one way these people are getting the word out about their games is social media. It's something that I actually have a lot of experience with because I'm a social media intern with the job, and social media is the driving force behind so many businesses and companies right now that it's no surprise that that's the most efficient and likely way that they're going to get their information out to the most people. So that wasn't surprising, and I was kind of glad to see it because it's something that I really like and I participate in on a daily basis. I would be interested to learn about what they do differently. Like a lot of clothing brands, a lot of lifestyle brands promote on social media, but it's got to be a little bit different for games. So I wonder, what demographic did they target and what kinds of advertisements did they make, and how are they different from, say, another company or another industry trying to promote something totally different. So the second question that we had to answer was, what information and from which report surprised you or contradicted what you thought about the game industry? One thing I was pretty surprised about was how the game industry is very targeted and focused on PC game development. Now, maybe this wasn't surprising to some people that have more experience in games, but I don't have any experience. The most experience I have is seeing my brothers play, and my brothers never played PC games. The only person I really even know that plays PC games is my fiance's brother. He has the whole setup in his room. The second thing I was surprised about came from the 2019 State of the Game report, and it said, and I'm going to read a small quote here, and it said that Androids were what most game makers were focused on developing games for. And that was like, what? Because I have an iPhone, and I only know people that have iPhones. There are few and far in between Android users in my life, and maybe that's just me. I don't know. So that was really surprising, and I'm going to read a quote from that report. When we asked this year's respondents which smartphone platforms, if any, they're making games for, 53% said Android, making it the most popular response for the third year running. Apple's iOS was a close second with 50%, while 39% said they weren't making games for mobile at all, and 5% said that they were targeting other mobile platforms. The next thing that I was surprised about was, so I don't really know about Steam. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what Steam was until we went to the game lab and like they explained that they have Steam on those computers, and I was like, what is Steam? And so I had to look it up. So as I expected, that Steam is a like digital game distribution place. Like you go to Steam and you can play digital games, which I kind of gathered from our little conversation in the game lab, but I was still kind of confused. So it was developed by Value Corporation, and Value Corporation wanted a way for people to automatically update their games. So they came out with this platform so that people could play their games and get the automatic updates. And then they started letting other people put their games on there, and that's when it kind of exploded. Well, now they take 30% of revenue from those games and keep it for themselves. Now, 30%, it depends on who you ask. It might not sound like a lot, but in my opinion, that's a lot of money. But I was just really surprised that Steam takes 30% of all revenue from the games that are on their platform. And based on the reports, it seems like developers are not happy about this. But again, I don't really know much about the game industry, so I don't know how that compares to other things or if there is any other things to compare it to. But 30% sounds like a really high number. That means if you make $100, 30 of it is automatically going to Steam. And Steam didn't even do anything. It's not like Steam helped you with the game. You just put it on Steam so that people could play, and they take all that money. The last question says, after reading both of these reports, are you more or less interested in pursuing games professionally after school? Okay, like I've said multiple times in this video, I am not a gamer. I don't play games. I don't love games. I haven't been exposed to a lot of games in my life. But after reading these reports, I am kind of inspired only because of the divide between women and men and how split it is. And I think it would be really cool for women to take hold of the game industry and at least make it more equal. You know, I'm not saying women have to totally overhaul it, but it would be cool if more women could get jobs in this field. So that did kind of change my mind a little bit. Now, I'm not gonna like go hardcore pursue game design now because I don't really like, or I don't think I'm good at animation at all, and that's kind of a big deal in game development. But I do think it's really interesting, and I have a new appreciation for women that do go into that field because I'm sure it's really difficult to work in a field that you're really outnumbered in. But at the end of the day, it didn't really change my opinion about what I'm personally going to do. If I were presented a job in game design, then I would probably take it because it's a job. I'm sorry for rambling through this video. The reports were really informative, really interesting, and I really liked how the reports, like on a graphic level, really incorporated graphs and visuals into the information, or else that would have been really hard to read. Thank you for watching, and have a good day. Bye.